Hi everybody, I hope you're well. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions of this brand new filter set from Freewell, which Freewell say is the world's first magnetic VND. So, let's crack on. Now, first up, Freewell kindly sent me this filter set to review, but I'm not being paid for this video and everything that I say in the video will be my honest opinion. Now, the first thing to mention about this filter set is that each filter in the set is magnetic, so attaching them and changing them is really quick and easy. Within this set, depending on what combination of filters you use, there are 7 different filters. There's a 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter, a 6 to 9 stop variable ND filter, a CPL filter, which is a circular polarizing filter, a neutral density 32 CPL filter, and various strengths of mist filter. So let's quickly talk about when and why you may want to use these filters when you're out shooting. For me, the most important of these filters, and the one that I know I'm going to be using a lot of in the future, is the variable ND filters. A variable ND filter, or variable neutral density filter, limits how much ambient light is hitting the lens, and the stronger the ND filter, the less ambient light is going to get through to the camera's sensor. Now, in simple terms, this means that if you're out shooting in very bright conditions, rather than having to shoot at very fast shutter speeds in order to not overexpose the image, when you use an ND filter, you can keep your shutter speed much slower. Now, there are many ways in which this can be really helpful. For example, I recently did a portrait shoot with my friend Lisa on the beach when the sun was very, very bright. Now, I always like to shoot portraits with a very wide aperture because to me that is just more flattering for portrait photographs, as it means that the background and the foreground will just turn into a nice bokeh rather than just the whole image from front to back being really sharp. But in order to shoot at a wide aperture, I had to shoot at a very, very fast shutter speed of 1/8000th of a second. Now, the downside of this is that in order to use off-camera flash, I had to use high-speed sync, which does work, and it did work in this occasion, but it does mean that I'm going to lose a lot of flash power, so it's just not ideal. The best option for me on that shoot would have been to use a strong ND filter to allow me to keep my shutter speed at 1/200 so that I wouldn't need to use high-speed sync. So these filters would have been perfect for that shoot, but I didn't have them at that time. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to be demonstrating how these filters can allow us to use slow shutter speeds in bright conditions by taking photographs of a waterfall in the middle of the day. But first of all, I'm just going to show you how you put on the variable ND filters onto the lens. So first of all, we put on the base ring, which is just this, and this just screws on. Now, from this point onwards, everything with these filters is magnetic, which is really cool. Now, just please note that you will need to buy the correct filter set for the thread of the lens that you want to use. Now, I wanted to use these filters on my Sony 16 to 35mm lens, which is this one, so I have the 82mm set, and you'll often find that it will tell you on the lens itself what thread that lens is. So, as I said, once the base ring is on, which it now is, everything from this point is magnetic. And I should say the magnets are very, very strong. These filters are not going to fall off. So the next thing that we do is add on the variable ND base filter. As I say, that's just this here, and watch how quickly that goes on. And that's on already, so it's very, very quick. After this, we have lots of options. We can add on the 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter. Literally, that just goes on like that. That's how quick it is. We can change the 2 to 5 stop for the 6 to 9 stop, which again, really easy. That's on. You can see how quick it is to change these filters, which is what makes it really good because it's magnetic. Now, once the filter is on, so again, on it goes, We can then change the strength of the filter by literally rotating it round like this. And that is the great thing about variable ND filters. You can literally change the strength of the filter by rotating it round. Now, just before I pass you over to me at the waterfall, this filter set has more tricks up its sleeve. For example, this is the 2 to 5 stop filter, but if we turn it round, this filter becomes a circular polarizing filter, which will give you deeper colours and remove glare from your photographs. And by turning round the 6 to 9 stop filter, so I'll just take this off and we'd rotate it round, it becomes an ND32 CPL filter. And again, that can just add on like that. So it's very quick to change the effect that we can get with these filters by literally just turning them round. So again, 6 to 9 stop, ND32 CPL. Also, we can change the base filter from a variable ND base, which is this one that's already on at the moment, so I'll take this one out, and we can replace it with a MIST variable ND, which is something, that's how quick it is, which is something that's going to be particularly useful for filmmakers because it will give your footage a slight misty look, which is just far more cinematic. And on top of that MIST variable ND filter, you can add on the 2 to 5 stop again, like that, or we can add on the 6 to 9 stop, like that. Now, if I were a filmmaker, I can definitely see me using the MIST filter, but to be honest, because I'm a photographer and I mainly shoot stills, I probably won't use these very often. The variable ND filters, however, I can see me using an awful lot, and I'm really excited to use them in the future. Now, if you want to keep the filters on your lens, this pack also includes a magnetic lens cap so that your filters won't get scratched in your bag, and it's very, very strong. I was going to show you here. See, it just jumps on. So there you go. So that means that the filter is now protected. So I'm now going to pass you over to me at the waterfall so you can see me using these filters for the first time. Now, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you may recognize this waterfall from a shoot that I did with my friend Beth, where I actually used an ND filter for the first time to deliberately allow me to shoot at a very slow shutter speed to smooth out the water. So I thought that would be a cool place to go back to and test out these filters. So, over to me. Okay, so I hope you can hear me okay over the noise of this waterfall. My aim here is to try and get a long exposure of the waterfall so that the water looks really smooth. And ideally, I'd like to make that exposure 4 or 5 seconds long in order to get that smoothness. So first of all, I'm going to see how close I can get this exposure without any filter on the camera whatsoever. So to do that, I'm going to put my ISO at 100, so nice and low. My aperture, I'll put, say, f10. And then I would like to take my shutter speed and put it for about 3 seconds. First of all, I'm just going to put the camera on a timer, because sometimes you're taking long exposures, even the process of pressing the button can mean that you give the image a bit of shake. So now let's just see this. Now it's going to take a shot now after 10 seconds. Now, as you can see, when I do that, this is the exposure that I get. Awful, absolutely awful. So it's really overexposed. But that is to be expected, because at the moment it is 5 o'clock here in the UK when I'm doing this video, which is 4.5 hours before sunset. So it's not a surprise that our images are going to be really overexposed. So without a filter, what we would have to do is wait until the ambient light is really low, obviously, but you don't always want to do that. So let's now put the filters on. This is literally the first time I've used them. First of all, I'm going to put on the base filter. Let's just screw that on. So I'm on my Sony 16-35mm lens on my A9 as always, and as well as the base filter, I'm also going to put on the VND base as well, which is this. This just literally sits in there. Again, the cool thing is, because it's using magnets, it's very, very simple. So that's on already. So that's going to help us a little bit. So again, I've not used any of the bigger filters yet. Let's just see what happens now with, if I just take a shot purely with the base filter. I can already tell you it's going to look awful. But let's just see. And it does. It's not quite as awful, but it's still terrible. So I'm now going to add on the 2 to 5 stop variable ND. Again, because it's magnets, it's nice and easy. There you go, that's on. That's what I love, it's so cool, just instantly on. So let's take this first of all, just at 2 stops. We'll see if it's going to get us where we want to go. I doubt it. Yeah, again, you can see we're getting closer. We are getting closer, but it's still way, way overexposed. So let's now go to 5 stops, see what this one gives us. We are getting closer. So let's take off the 2 to 5 stop and swap that with the big boy. We're going to put on now the 6 to 9 stop. That's good. Again, let me just show you how easy that is. Literally on. Very cool. Okay, so we're now at 6 stops under. Yeah, in fact, I don't actually know if any of that is overexposed. We might be okay. But for the sake of argument, so you can see what difference it is, I'm going to now turn this from 6 stop to 9. I can already see now we're going to be underexposed. So I'm not changing any other settings. We're still at 3.2 seconds, F10, ISO 100, with now the 9 stop variable ND filter, and we get this. So we're now underexposed, which is good, because what that will allow us to do, if we want to, is increase our shutter speed from 3.2 seconds to 10 seconds. Let's just do that. These shots, by the way, are just to illustrate what the variable ND filters do. This is not meant to be a really great landscape photograph, because it isn't. The sky has no contrast in it. The composition's not great either. But it's giving you an idea of what you can do with these filters. Yep, so we're still under, I reckon, but that looks nice. That is a 10-second exposure. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what this looks like through the EVF, through the viewfinder. What you're looking at now is a video through my A9. My shutter is at 1/60th, I'm at f3.2, and my ISO is at 100. Now I'm going to pop on the filter, just so you can see what difference it makes. So that is the 6 stop filter, and I'm going to turn the filter round. Obviously the exposure gets darker and gets darker, and we're now at 9 stops. So again, we can change that literally in the camera, control how much light goes in and out. So that's the 6 to 9 stop. Let's also just compare that to the 2 to 5. So this is 2 stops, and that's 5. So obviously if you want to go stronger than that and make the exposure more underexposed, then we go to the other one. So what I'm going to do now is show you on the screen the various photographs which we've just taken from the first shot, where we didn't have any filter on the camera at all the way through to the 9 stop. And you can see what difference is made when we use these variable ND filters. And what I will now do is, if I'm brave enough, I'm going to go over there and try and get compositions that are just a little bit more creative. But to do that, I'm going to put away these cameras, because that's just asking for trouble. I hope you found that useful. Now, bear in mind that I've not used filters very often, so I can't really honestly compare this particular filter set to any others because I just don't have enough experience of using them. However, I was very impressed with this set, especially the ease of being able to put the filters onto the lenses so quickly. Now, I'm definitely going to be using the variable ND filters in the future. I'm not sure how often I'll use the CPL filters or the MIST filter, just because they don't really fit into the type of work that I do, but the variable ND filters definitely will, because as I mentioned earlier, because of the fact that I love taking off-camera flash images, these filters, the variable ND filters, will allow me to do that without needing to use high-speed sync, which is great. So a big thank you to Freewell for sending me this filter set. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.